My theme tonight is going to be adjacent to the winding road. It's going to be really about being uncomfortable and how uncomfortable and being uncomfortable leads you down that road and leads you to these new places that you wouldn't typically end up in. I like to be comfortable. I'm a very, very much a creature of habit. I do the same things every day for the most part. I eat the same foods on Fridays. When I tell myself I'm going to go out and have a great meal, I end up going to Qdoba and having the same thing. They know me so well there that they literally will start making it as I walk in the door and don't have to ask me anything. And that just, that's good for a lot of reasons because, routine is great. But it's also, can be frustrating. You can put yourself into kind of a self-induced rut. So I guess starting back from how I ended up here, working back to kind of what I think of as the beginning of this process and moving towards my career goals and everything that I've kind of done so far, I started really focusing on making myself uncomfortable. When I ended up hospitalized, I was I guess 16. I had horrible, really, really terrible migraines. Saw every doctor under the sun, was on hundreds of different medications, literally. I have a list somewhere and it's like an Excel sheet and it's just pages long. And I was in for about a month and a half, 2 months of just constant, horrible migraines, everything just like, and typically that doesn't happen when you're a junior in high school. So that was really, kind of a turning point in a bad way. I'd always been a really outgoing, active person as a child, and really enjoyed life and everything. And at the end of that month and a half, 2 months, I woke up one day and the headache was gone, but there was something else replacing it. And it was just this like pit that I couldn't get rid of. And kind of tying that back to that winding road, I felt like I was kind of veering off of it almost completely. I was just really depressed, having trouble getting up in the mornings, didn't really see a point, frustrated with my situation. And then that's kind of how I started getting comfortable and learning that doing the same things over and over again led to less surprises, which led to less failure, less problems, less issues. And I kind of, I coasted on that for a long time. I will admit it. I am, I'm smart enough I was smart enough to kind of fail my way up a little bit for a while. Like I really messed around in high school. When I got back, barely scraped through into school. Still in crippling debt because of my studies in a couple of different areas, including journalism, print journalism, which is a really lucrative field, as everybody knows. Went to a couple of different schools, really just kind of coasted along for a long time. And then I woke up one day and I had this I felt like I was at a crossroads, really. Like I had worked myself into such a routine that I felt like if I didn't make a change, I was headed down towards literally, I don't know what. Worst case scenario, possibly, even ending my own life, which is, it's hard to say, but depression's a serious issue. It runs in my family, and I knew that was very much so a possibility of what could happen if I didn't do something. And that's kind of where I took the car, and I guess I steered it back towards the road a little bit. I decided that what I was doing, I was putting myself in this really comfortable position was, wasn't working for me. And I watched actually, which is funny, I watched the movie Yes Man. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, with Jim Carrey. When he's singing I Wish You'd Step Out, or that Third Eye Blind song, cracks me up every time. I love it. But it actually, the message of that, saying yes to things, resonated with me in a big way. The biggest of those being, that I realized that I had literally cut off everyone for my life. I had stopped, your friends are only your friends until you stop, you start telling them, you're not going to hang out with them because you don't feel like, and then you're like, I wonder why nobody calls me. So I really took it towards, I steered it back and I got uncomfortable. And, I started doing uncomfortable things like getting up in front of a group of people without really any much of a plan. I just kind of heard about this and, I figured, I'd try it out. And that uncomfortableness led me to, getting pushed out to go get dinner with a colleague of my mom's. It was like the most embarrassing thing in the world to have her. It was essentially, she set me up on like a date with this guy, went out and got Indian food for dinner, and that led to me learning about networking. And I took that lesson from him and I moved it on, I moved it to that next step. I somehow got myself into an e-tail conference in Philadelphia where I ended up, I really wasn't supposed to be there. I think the tickets were they were like something crazy because it's all companies that get there, so it was like a couple $1,000s. I somehow made it into the door and got through everybody just by trying it. I was like, I'm gonna go down there and see what I can do. And that led me to meeting a sales rep for a startup in Philadelphia called Curely. And just that lesson of saying yes kind of brought me to a position where I was able to kind of take control of my own life. And it really sucks to be uncomfortable for the moment. But I know that after I'm done, talking here today, that I'm gonna leave, and go home, and I'm gonna lay in bed and say like, oh wow, that's great, I grew today. I didn't have the same sandwich that I had, yesterday. I did something new. And it's really that keeps you, it can be a winding road, but it is, saying yes to things really makes it an enjoyable road. Even though sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's difficult to stand up in front of everybody and talk and open your mouth. Even going first year, I didn't even watch a video, honestly, of what this is gonna look like. So I'm really just talking out of my ass, excuse my French, but and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I think that's an important thing, is to be appreciative of those opportunities to be uncomfortable. So yeah, that's my story. Thanks.